Hey Eddie, what are we doing?
Looking for tools that I've lost. What's this video? Day, night, afternoon, tomorrow?
It'll be daytime.
Daytime?
Yeah,
So like afternoon or morning?
probably morning.
Good morning, everyone. Alright, so today I've been putting it off since I've got the car. For some odd reason, I've never really tackled it, but we're gonna try to get rid of the play and the shifter and get it shifted properly. If you have a 944, you know these things are super sloppy, like extremely loose. So everything you see here, you can get from only944.com. It provides a new shifter arm, a short shifter, which, you know, it's nice, clean, new parts, really well made. A shift linkage. They will provide Loctite, and you have to pay for this. Go with the option if you don't want to just go out and buy an 11mm wrench and chop it up.
What the heck?
Yeah, you need that.
Okay.
You're gonna need it for this little guy right here. And we'll show you guys how to do it today. All right, so what this shifter does exactly is it reduces the throws by 33%, and it also helps eliminate a lot of the slop that you get while in gear. That makes it look like you're in neutral. One thing I really don't like about this car, and I really haven't, is that slop exactly. For example, if you're going through a corner, even though you're in third or fourth gear, you know, the shifter will just slightly slope over towards you. And when you turn again the opposite way, it'll slide over to the other side, and just a little nuisance, but it'll get taken care of today. So the only tools you'll need for this job: 10mm wrench, 11mm normal sized wrench, 13mm wrench, 17mm wrench, and a 13mm socket. And for the shifter in the car, a 5mm Allen wrench. In the interior of the car, cool little update. I did a manual window regulator swap. Took a while, but found all the parts necessary for a late model car, and I just need the little delete plugs right there.
And wait,
Oh yeah.
and you made some custom
So cool little thing. There was an incident where oil spilled in my car, so I had to get new seats. So I got some 964 seats, and what I did with the old seat backs is I repurposed the factory material to make some door pulls. So there's no more armrest nor pocket, because lightweight, dude. Dogs, dudes, boys, goils. But here we go. So it's a little intimidating at first, but you just gotta really work out that. Pull the inner shift boot. I'm gonna just I have to pull it all off anyways. So this inner shift boot, which by the way, all this right here is from Only 944 as well. They make a lot of stuff for these cars. When I first originally got the car, OEM has a rubber boot right here, but they're always broken, and when they're cracked, exhaust fumes leak into the cabin. So Kyle supplies leather inner and a leather outer boot so you can clean up your interior. But we'll just need to remove this clip down here that holds the shifter into place. Make sure you don't lose that. Pull the shifter out. Now, the new piece doesn't come with bushing, so you're going to want to save these for later. I'm pretty sure there's an aftermarket for them, a little harder durometer. But I found them years ago. Now they can't seem to find them. And this right here, oh, it's a little bit different. So there's supposed to be a bolt right here. Now it's just a pin with a C-clip. So push that C-clip off. I guess you'd call it an E-clip. Save that for later. And you want to make sure your car is in neutral. In case yours is not a bolt and it's just held in by that C-clip, E-clip, etc. All you got to do is hold onto the shifter and you pop it off. Next thing you'll do is you'll reach in with I didn't get my extension. Alright, there's two 13mm down here. I don't know if Damon can really see them. One right here, one right there. You'll loosen them up and you'll pull the whole assembly out. Remember, save everything you have, and this whole assembly comes out along with all this dead
It's like insulation. Yeah.
I would think it's insulation because from a lot of heat from the catalytic converter transfers up through the transmission tunnel, and it gets super hot in this car. And it doesn't help that I'm trying to be, race car, and I've removed all the insulation from underneath the carpet. Because the plan with the car is to eventually gut it out and,
Race car
stuff. Alright. Now all we gotta do is remove this little plastic socket, some flatheads. Try not to break it, because if we do, we're gonna have to stop this video. There it goes. Awesome. I'm gonna go ahead and clean that up, but you will no longer need this piece, so we'll get the new one and keep it going. Alrighty, so we cleaned up that little plastic socket real quick. Take this new bolt and nut off the shifter, and we're gonna use the vice grips to actually pop it back on, because it's pretty tough. Can't really get it in there too well, so do some jank stuff. But if you follow the instructions online, it's all written out. This is what Kyle recommends to do. Is it opening or closing? So, bam, we're in. Just like that. And I will go back into the car. Alrighty. Little hiccup. That's totally my fault. I went ahead and removed all that foam, but I don't think it was the move, because now the shifter itself has a lot more play in it. So I think the mat helps restrict the movement in there. But even if that's the case, the short shifter is for throws, not the wiggle. So I might have just totally kind of played myself on that one, right, Damon? But it is what it is, we just keep on moving forward with the process. But it's a good example to show how the exhaust will leak into the cabin, because if you look down, it's just empty, really. You can see the light poking through. So it looks like we got this into place. But actually, before I really start cranking it down, I'm going to try to put it exactly where it was, because the base itself is slotted rather than fixed. And it's in there. So that's in gear, neutral. Now we'll go ahead and install the pin. The main thing about the shifter, you could wonder, is like, oh, why am I going to switch out the whole linkage? Is that it comes with these super flat bearings that really help with shifter feel more than anything. I guess to help reduce vibration and just a hair of that play. All this gets sold separately. You buy it together in 3 pieces. If you buy this alone, you're not really going to feel any difference at all, honestly. So we'll go ahead and start getting it in. So you want to make sure that this pin, the new bolt, you want the Allen head facing outwards, and you're going to put the washers in between the actual like the shift linkage, I guess we could call it itself. So 2 washers and a bearing sandwiched in between, and you can use your 5 Allen, and you're just going to thread it in. Now this bolt itself doesn't slide into the shifter arm. It's actually got threads in it, so you got to make sure it goes all the way through. And yep, she's going in now. So we got the bolt threaded into the shifter, and now we're just gonna put the securing nut on. We're just gonna put a little dab of Loctite in there, and this is where your 13mm is gonna come in handy. Use your 5 to back it up. Alright, so I didn't think it was going to change the feel that much of the shifter, but it really does. It's a lot tighter with these bearings. So, for example, just reference, even though shifter's not on the car, but throw it into first. Put her in there. The side-by-side plate has gone down dramatically But what the instructions mentioned is that this pin, this bolt, should not interfere with anything, especially this oval ring. So before you tighten everything back up, I made the mistake of tightening down those 2/13s. Leave them hand tight so that the mount itself has a little bit of play in it for now, because you want to make sure everything's working properly. You want to run the gears. So first, second, third, fourth, and then fifth. Obviously you heard that, and the bolt itself is hitting the oval, getting into fifth. Now the car does shift into fifth, but I don't want any of that interference. So the way to adjust this is, you're gonna need two people, unfortunately. Good thing I got Damon here with me, and we will explain the process, but we won't actually get the finishing fitment for you guys, but it'll be explained right. You want a second person in here to make sure the car is in neutral while you adjust it in the back. So we'll go ahead and start working, replacing the shifter back there, and we'll explain how fixing the neutral will be. So we're gonna start off with the shift linkage in the rear. All you gotta do to the car is get it up on jack stands, make sure to put your chocks in the front, and remove the driver's side wheel. But I'll show you this right away out of the car. So what the instructions mentioned to do is, in order to install the shifter, the linkage, in perspective it's gonna go like this on the car. That small 11mm Allen wrench is going to be tightening down this set of threads right here, but of course, as you can imagine, it might be a little bit difficult to get it in there. So what we'll do is actually take the ball joint apart. So you'll pull this little clip out, and with a set of pliers you grab the flat end and you actually pull it out of the shift linkage. Now this linkage, even though it's threaded all the way through, it's already measured out. You don't need to mess with any of this. This requires zero adjustment. But this will just facilitate putting in that 11, twisting it around. You use a normal size 11mm to just give it the nice quick tight. Some Loctite in there. And a trick, so you don't have to fumble with this while the retaining clip, is you're gonna barely stick it in there for now, and we're gonna throw a little ring of tape around it to hold it in. Just like that. So when the time comes, when you pop the ball joint back in, all you gotta do is press the clip up and secure it around the neck. So now we'll take you guys underneath the car and try and show you what to do, but it is what it is. All right, now we're directly under the transmission, and Damon will move the camera up towards the wheel well, and I'll point out exactly what we're going to be removing here. So, can you see, Damon?
Well, I'm getting there. Alrighty. Oh gosh.
Alright guys, so the shift linkage is this piece all the way back here, and right here will be the actual shifter, you could say, right? This will replace, the short shifter will replace this unit. So we'll start with the shift linkage, but I'm going to go ahead and explain what bolts and nuts need to be removed. This little acorn nut right here is a 17mm, and right back here is a 13mm. This is a 10mm, and unfortunately we're going to have to pull the boot back, and there's another 13 located behind here. So we'll go ahead and stick the 17 on the acorn and get that ratchet with the 13 on there and start cranking it away at it. Unfortunately, it's going to be difficult to show you guys because it's a super tight area, and
it's filthy.
It's extremely filthy. I actually took a wire brush and cleaned up all this just to see what was going on. So we're having a little bit of issues. You're going to need a short extension for your socket for sure, so that the wrench is kind of right here, the ratcheting wrench, to break that nut with a 17 on the backup. Unfortunately, mine got rounded out. So we'll try to just disconnect the whole thing as a single unit, along with the 11mm that's on the other side of the transmission, which holds the linkage together. So we'll update you on that. That black boot that you saw earlier, you're gonna have to pull it back to expose this 13mm right here. And it has this rather odd tie wire to it instead of a cotter pin, but you know what? We'll just cut that and see what's going on with there. But this is a 13 again. 10, and I believe that's it, with the exception of the 11 that's on the other side. Let's remove it all together. All right.
Hold it just like that. There you go, cover the mic.
So it's really hard to tell, but there you go. You can see it right in the middle of the screen. I was under the impression that it was 11 millimeters in the back for the stock linkage, but it's actually still a 17. So right now I'm on the passenger side of the transmission. You'll have to fish the 17 millimeter wrench in from the driver's side over the top and crack that bolt loose and then just fully disconnect it. But it's not difficult. It's just a matter of fitting, and just take your time and it'll come out fine. So I gave some wrong information. On the back of that linkage, it's actually a 17, not an 11. The new part, you're going to need an 11 just to get to this flat area to tighten it down. But the threads are identical in every sense of the way. It's a bit tight to get in there, but it's just pretty straightforward from there. Alrighty, so remember, take the ball joint off. It'll be easier for installation to put this on first rather than the whole linkage together. And be sure to use a thick washer when it goes on, and put some thread lock on there, and all should be good. Alright, so I finally got done like 2 hours later. Again, this is a short 11-inch that they supply. I had a little bit of trouble with mine because it's located at the very top of the transaxle, so a little bit of grime got in there, so it's a little tight. I tried taking it out, cleaning it as much as I could, but end of the end, I actually cut my own just a hair longer, just to get a little leverage because you're literally like your index is pulling this little ball joint closed. But got it all in. Dane wants to come this way. Got the light down. But if you can see, it's all brand new hardware right there. So in order to adjust the neutral position and make sure nothing's hitting, what you have to do, someone has to sit inside the car and right at about this angle. It's not all the way back, but it's not perfectly straight up. And you have to have someone hold it in that position while you have to tighten the old 13 millimeter that's up there. You have to put an 11 to back up the ball joint, and then have someone hold it inside the cabin while you tighten that down, and just test it until you get it right, really. But it has dramatically changed play. We'll have Damon, that's in neutral, that's in first, and as you can see, there's like no wiggle, barely, unless you like really force it out. But yeah, just run the gears, make sure everything's good, and that should be it. Oh, I thought you were gonna say
Look
something.
at your face.
I know, it's filthy.
Oh, wow.
Oh, it goes to the gears perfectly. Alright, whole rear end's back together. Now the front is going to go through a little inspection. We took it for a test drive. Everything's a lot tighter. Throws are shorter. No slop at all in the shifter. Now when we were driving, we heard the lifters were quite a bit louder than they should be. Because if you have a 944, you know, you'll hear them, but now they're like knocking in, so I got to get that checked out. Other than that, everything's really good. And like I said, you know, you can get the whole kit. I believe it's 130, 160 bucks. Sorry for the big gap. On only944.com, and yeah, you know, if you're tired of your shifter going in, get it done. I forgot. So hit that like button and subscribe, and buy some merch on valleycrewracing.com. Thank you for watching.